Says the Mesilat Yesharim that the Zoti Yarad Emitit. This is the real fear of Hashem. He says, because the Gemara says, "En HaKadosh Baruch Hu ba'olamo elo tzar shirat shamayim bilvad." And the Gemara says, in Hashem's storehouse, he only has what? Treasure of fear of heaven. You know, what does a king have in his safe? A king has things that nobody has. You can't get anywhere, right? But the problem is, what does Hashem have in his safe? Hashem has everything. Hashem has the whole world. He created it. He has everything in the world. So what does he think is special? What does he value? Says the Gemara, in Hashem's safe, there's jars of Yirat Shamayim. Abraham's Yirat Shamayim is in a jar. Hashem takes it out. He looks at it. He gets a warmth in his heart. He says, "Wow, I'm so proud of him. Look at his Yirat Shamayim, unbelievable, beautiful." He's so happy he sees it. It gives him joy. His pride and joy. Why? Because everything is in Hashem's hands. Chutz Yirat Shamayim, except for Yirat Shamayim. Yirat Shamayim is not up to him. You know what makes a person want to pay more money for something? If it's exclusive. You can't get it anywhere. You only can get a certain place. Only a few people have it. For Hashem, Yirat Shamayim is exclusive. You can't get it anywhere. I can't get it. I can't make it. You have it. I have to get it from you. So therefore, Hashem takes and he sees the guy who has Yirat Shamayim. He puts it in his safe. He says, "This is this guy's Yirat Shamayim. This is special." So therefore, you see those guys. They come. You come to their house. They're your good friend. He said, "Come, I want to show you something cool." He takes out from his safe a nice watch, some cool bottle, some fancy schmancy expensive item. He says, "You see this? You know, it's 1 of 50. You have to pay this kind of money. This, you know, I got this. Da da da. I waited 2 years for to get this. Da da da." Hashem, you know what Hashem does? Hashem does the same thing for Yirat Shamayim. He does the same thing for Yirat Shamayim. So therefore, the Gemara says that who was able to have Yirat Shamayim like that? Sharak le Moshe hayakal le'asiga. Only Moshe Rabbeinu said it was easy to get, but obviously for everybody else, all right, achirim vaday chomer monei gadol hu lahem. Others were deterred by their earthly needs, so therefore it was very difficult for them. Nevertheless, for a person has to make efforts to try to get there and try to get as much Yirat Shamayim as he can. So he brings a story, the Rav Twersky, that a person came to see the Stipler Gaon. And when there was no answer to the knock on the door, he pushed the door open slightly to go see the Stipler Gaon. Now, the Stipler Gaon was very hard of hearing. He was almost deaf. And that's why it came a style. Baruch Chaim Kanievsky also, you have to write down your name and write down what you need on a piece of paper, and then he would read it because he couldn't hear so well. So what happened? So he saw that the rabbi was sitting there without any books, and he was going like this, mumbling to himself. He was like, "What is the rabbi doing?" So he was curious, and he heard the rabbi saying something. What did he hear the rabbi say? The rabbi said, "Ani ma'amin, I believe, she'aborei barach shemo, Hashem the Creator, blessed His name, hu yachid. He's the only one." Meaning, I believe in Hashem. The Stipler Gaon was reciting to himself 13 principles of faith in Hebrew and translating them into Yiddish. And you see that this person who was a Stipler Gaon, he was working on his Yirat Shamayim. He took time out of his day to remind himself, "I believe in Olam Haba. I believe in Tchet HaMitim. I believe in Hashem sees everything. I believe there's reward and punishment." He said all the 30 principles of faith to himself. And you shouldn't think it's like a simple thing. It's a very big thing, and it's very special to have Yirat Shamayim, and it needs work. To learn Gemara, to learn Halacha, to learn how to pray. You need to practice, you need to learn why Yirat Shamayim is any different. Yirat Shamayim also requires the same things. So he says, Derech kinyan yirat azot. How do you acquire this Yirat Shamayim? Echad hu yot shchinata yitbarach nitzeh b'chol makom she'olam. Hu she'yitbarach b'shgil chol davar v'kadon v'katan. כיוון שיתברר לו כל מקום שהוא עומד לפני שכינתו יתברך, אז מאליה תבוא היראה. Number one, you have to realize Hashem is everywhere. Hashem sees everything. And if you don't, that doesn't make you have Yirat Shamayim, so that means you don't believe Hashem is everywhere. If you would believe Hashem is everywhere, so then you wouldn't act the way you act. And if the way you act, why do you act wrongly? It's because you don't really believe He's there. Right? Imagine you're in a party and your father's there. And you start getting drunk and start messing around, misbehaving. The guy tells him, "Your father's here. You don't see your father?" Oh my goodness! He changes. He became sober in 1 second. He starts behaving. If we realize our father's there, our father's always looking, our father's always there, then we would be able to also do the same thing. Be serious and do what you need to do. Problem is, we don't really believe. Who says he's there? Really? Who went to Olam Haba, came back, told us it's true? Come on. I'll tell you who came back. Moshe Rabbeinu came back. There's a lot of rabbis who died and went to Shamayim, came back, and they came back alive. They had clinical death. There's a lot of people who came back and said it's true. But people believe what they want to believe. He says, you need to constantly remind yourself because it's something that you don't see, so you need to constantly remind yourself. He says, number 2, he says the only other way is what? Is to constantly study about Hashgacha Pratit and how Hashem sees everything. And he says that nothing is hidden from Hashem. Even behind closed doors, nothing is hidden from Hashem. We'll end with a story that the Hasidic master of Pshischa, right? The Banim of Pshischa. He was a student of the Chozar Lublin. And one time he found the Chozar Lublin crying uncontrollably. And the Chozar Lublin asked explained to his student, what has become of me? How could I fall so low? There's been months where I lost contact with Hashem, and that's something that's so, even a child has a connection to Hashem. How could it be that I forgot Him? Please help me, help me, help me. He says, give me chizuk. So the Rabban of Shishcha says, let me give you a halacha. He says, what's the halacha? He says, there's a halacha that if you dropped a sheaf of grain while you're carrying it, you have to leave it behind for the poor. And if you discover it while taking in the harvest, you may not return to get it. You have to leave it for poor. But the halacha says that if there's something so unique about that particular sheaf, and you're quickly to remember it, so then it's not considered forgetting. It's permitted to retrieve it. If it's a unique piece, you don't have to leave it behind. So he says this teaches us that if you forget, but you quickly remember, it's not considered forgetting. He says, don't worry, the Rebbe. You forgot about Hashem, but you quickly remember, it's not considered forgetting. So therefore he says, sometimes we get preoccupied. Sometimes we feel like we forget about Hashem, but if we quickly remember and quickly catch ourselves and quickly study Torah and Musar every day, it's not considered forgetting. Baruch